The fact that you're reading these words right now isn't random. It's not by mistake or chance that they landed in your awareness at this exact moment. Something inside you recognized a signal long before your logical mind decided to stay here. You felt a pull, a resonance, a quiet knowing that said this message was meant for you. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. You're part of what I call Group 11. And before you dismiss that as just another phrase or catchy idea, understand this. The field doesn't deal in random events. Your energy tuned into this frequency because it matches something that's been alive in you for a long time. Something that's been waiting for recognition, waiting to be named, waiting to be activated. You've probably always felt a little different. Not broken, not lost, just tuned to something that most people around you can't hear. You notice patterns in things others ignore. You sense meaning where others see coincidence. You feel currents running beneath the surface of conversations and situations. It's like living in two worlds at once. One is ordinary, predictable, built on logic and habit. The other is layered, textured, charged with a deeper sense of purpose. You've learned to walk between them, translating what you feel into words that make sense to others, even though those words never quite capture what you actually experience. That translation has always felt incomplete, because what moves through you isn't meant to be reduced to simple explanations. It's meant to be lived. It's meant to be embodied. You've carried questions that don't have easy answers. You've sensed potential inside you that doesn't fit into normal definitions of success. You've looked around at the world and wondered why so many people seem satisfied with surface-level living when you can feel the layers beneath it pulsing with possibility. You've tried to explain it, maybe even doubted it, but deep down you've always known there's more. More to reality, more to you, more to what life is trying to become through you. That awareness isn't random. It's the signal of a higher consciousness trying to express itself in human form. And that's what being part of Group 11 means. You're not here to fit in. You're here to wake up. To remember who you actually are beneath the noise of conditioning and expectation. There was a time when this awareness felt heavy, when you questioned whether something was wrong with you for not being able to settle for what everyone else seemed to want. When you wondered if you were missing some essential piece that made life simpler for others. But that confusion wasn't a flaw. It was part of your preparation. The times you felt lost were not wasted. They were moments when the universe was quietly reconfiguring your path, removing false directions so you could create your own. Every setback, every disappointment, every ending that felt unfair was training you to see beyond appearances. It was teaching you how to trust the unseen, to sense timing, to recognize energy, to feel truth before proof appears. You've already noticed that your life doesn't move in straight lines. You don't get to climb ladders that others built. You move in spirals, loops, expansions followed by contraction. You rise and fall and rise again, each time with more clarity than before. It's easy to mistake that rhythm for inconsistency, but it's not. It's calibration. The quantum field doesn't build your reality in predictable sequences. It builds it through frequency alignment. Every time you thought you were backtracking, you were actually entering a new level of awareness that your old self couldn't sustain. The confusion was simply your consciousness adjusting to the higher frequency you were stepping into. It always feels like chaos before it feels like clarity. That's how transformation works. You've probably spent long stretches of time alone. Not lonely exactly, but isolated. Like life forced you into silence so you could hear your own signal without interference. Maybe friendships faded. Maybe you stepped away from things that used to matter. Maybe your world got quiet enough for the first time that you could finally listen to yourself. That wasn't punishment. That was alignment. The silence was the training ground for your awareness. You were learning how to sense truth without needing anyone to confirm it. You were developing your inner navigation system. You were remembering how to recognize the difference between energy that feeds you and energy that drains you. Most people never develop that level of sensitivity because they never allow the noise to stop long enough to hear themselves. But you did. That's what made you ready for this message. There's a reason you've never fully connected with surface-level motivation. The kind that tells you to just work harder, think positive, or visualize what you want until it arrives. That kind of approach might work for some, but it's not for you. Because you don't manifest from wishful thinking. You manifest from coherence. Your energy creates your reality, not your thoughts alone. When your inner state is aligned, when your emotions, beliefs, and actions move in the same direction, the quantum field responds instantly. That's why things seem to fall into place when you stop forcing and start trusting. That's why certain people appear at exactly the right time when you finally relax into what feels true. That's not luck. That's resonance. That's what happens when your frequency stabilizes. But let's talk about what that really means in daily life. Personal growth for you isn't about chasing perfection. It's about remembering who you already are beneath the conditioning that told you to be someone else. Growth isn't about adding more to yourself. It's about peeling back layers that never belonged to you in the first place. You've been taught to measure progress by what you achieve. But your real evolution shows up in what you release, in how calmly you face situations that used to trigger you, in how often you trust your intuition instead of overthinking it, in how quickly you return to balance after life shakes you. That's what mastery looks like. Not constant positivity, but consistent awareness. You're learning to meet life with clarity, not control. To move with what's unfolding instead of fighting against it. That's where real power lives. If you've ever wondered why your path seemed harder than others, why it took longer for things to make sense, it's because you weren't meant to play small. You were being trained for a level of awareness that requires patience, courage, and depth of seeing. The field doesn't rush evolution. It builds coherence slowly so it can last. Every time you were forced to start over, you were being purified. Every time you lost something that once defined you, you were being freed. Every time you had to question everything, you were being shown that truth doesn't fear examination. You're not behind. You're right on time. Because everything that looked like delay was actually preparation. You were being shaped into someone who doesn't crumble when the world shifts. Someone who can move through uncertainty without losing center. Someone who leads through energy, not words. Now you're beginning to feel something changing inside you. Subtle but constant, like a hum under the surface of daily life. Moments feel heavier with meaning. Time feels different, quieter, slower, more deliberate. You catch yourself noticing patterns you used to miss. Small synchronicities string together into undeniable chains of connection. Thoughts you think in passing show up as opportunities days later. That's the field responding. That's confirmation that your energy is starting to stabilize into a frequency that reality recognizes. You're no longer chasing manifestations. You're allowing them. You're no longer trying to make things happen. You're aligning with what's already in motion. The difference is everything. And if you've noticed your sensitivity increasing, that's not weakness. That's attunement. You're feeling more because you're capable of holding more. You're seeing more because your awareness has expanded. You're understanding things instantly that used to confuse you. That's the sign of integration. The world might still feel intense, even overwhelming at times, but that's temporary. You're learning to manage your expanded perception without shutting it down. You're learning to stay open and grounded at the same time. You're learning how to walk as energy in motion while still being human. That's the art of conscious growth. That's what it means to live in alignment with the quantum field. And now something new is starting to form in your awareness. A quiet realization that all the uncertainty, all the struggle, all the waiting had a purpose. That your nonlinear path wasn't a mistake. It was training. You were being calibrated to operate differently. You were being shown how to function outside the linear cause and effect model that most people live in. You were being prepared to manifest through resonance, not effort. You were being taught that your thoughts don't create your reality. Your coherence does. When your beliefs, emotions, and energy align with what's true for you, reality adjusts. That's why some people seem to manifest effortlessly. They're not manipulating the field. They're matching it. And that's what you're learning to do now. Every event in your life has been leading you here. Every challenge, every pause, every sudden shift. You've been decoding reality without realizing it. You've been learning the language of energy through your experiences. The moments that hurt the most were the moments that cracked you open enough for light to get in. You weren't being punished. You were being refined. So when I say you're part of Group 11, understand what that really means. It's not a title. It's not an identity. It's a reminder that you're tuned into a frequency that's beginning to awaken across the planet. You're part of the wave that's raising consciousness by living it, not preaching it. By becoming the vibration that others unconsciously feel when they're around you. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. Your alignment does the work for you. If this is resonating, it's because it's not new information. It's recognition. Your body knows it. Your energy knows it. This message is simply reminding you of something you've always known, but forgot under the weight of human conditioning. You're not here to fit in. You're here to evolve in public. You're here to show what it looks like to live from awareness instead of fear. You're here to lead without trying, to inspire without effort, to transform reality just by existing as yourself. You've been training for this your entire life, even when you didn't know it. And now the timing is aligning. You're beginning to see why things had to unfold exactly the way they did. Because only now are you ready to understand what's actually been happening. Take a moment and breathe that in. Feel what's rising inside you as truth, not theory. Feel the relief of realizing that nothing was wasted. Feel the recognition that the same energy that led you here is the same energy guiding you forward. This isn't the start of something new. It's the continuation of what's been building since the day you decided to stop ignoring that quiet knowing in your chest. You're remembering. You're aligning. You're activating. And as you do, reality will begin to reshape itself around your coherence. Not because you forced it to, but because that's how the field always responds to truth. Welcome to Group 11. You were never separate from it. You were always it. Now you simply know. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way time feels different lately. The way moments stretch and contract depending on your state. When you're aligned, things move quickly. When you're uncertain, everything slows. That's not imagination. That's feedback. You're beginning to understand what it means to live as energy in motion. The field mirrors your inner state instantly now. What used to take months to shift can happen in days. What once required struggle now unfolds naturally. The external world isn't separate from you anymore. It's responding to your vibration like a reflection in water. Every thought, every emotion, every small choice ripples through the field and returns amplified. That's why awareness is everything. You can't afford to live unconsciously anymore. The energy you carry is shaping reality faster than ever before. You used to chase outcomes. You tried to make things happen through force and willpower. You were taught that success came from control, discipline, persistence. But you've learned that pushing against resistance only creates more resistance. You've discovered that the universe doesn't respond to force. It responds to frequency. The clearer your energy, the faster things align. The more you trust the flow, the easier life feels. The moment you stop needing proof, proof arrives. That's the paradox of manifestation. You can't reach alignment through striving. You reach it through surrender. You align not by demanding, but by allowing. You stop trying to attract and start becoming. You stop asking when it will happen and start realizing it already is. That's what shifts everything. You become the broadcast, not the request. And you've probably noticed the shift in your emotions too. How easily old patterns of fear, doubt, or frustration surface when your energy expands. That's not regression. That's release. Those emotions aren't new. They're just becoming visible so you can clear them. The field doesn't punish you for low energy. It simply reflects what's active in your vibration. That's why self-awareness matters more than perfection. When you notice the emotion without judgment, it loses its charge. When you resist it, it grows. The process of quantum growth isn't about never feeling negative emotions. It's about moving through them consciously without letting them control your frequency. You're learning emotional regulation not as avoidance, but as mastery. The ability to feel deeply without losing center. The capacity to hold contrast without collapsing into it. That's the mark of coherence. You're also noticing that the people around you are responding differently to you. Some are drawn in closer. Others drift away. That's not personal. That's energetic sorting. When your frequency changes, your connections reorganize. You can't hold resonance with people whose energy refuses to grow. It's not rejection. It's alignment. The relationships that are meant to stay will evolve with you. The ones that aren't will dissolve quietly. You don't have to chase or explain or justify. The field handles it for you. All you need to do is stay true to your energy. Stay honest about what feels right and what doesn't. When you do, everything around you begins to match your inner state. It's not about controlling people or circumstances. It's about maintaining coherence. Reality rearranges itself naturally when you do. You've also begun to feel the truth that personal growth isn't separate from spiritual growth. They're the same thing. The difference is that you're no longer growing through pain alone. You're growing through awareness. You don't need crises to wake up anymore. You don't need loss to learn alignment. You've entered a phase where growth can come through expansion instead of contraction. That's the gift of integration. You're not being tested now. You're being invited. The universe doesn't need to push you through contrast because you're choosing evolution willingly. You're choosing awareness as your default state. That's when manifestation accelerates. When lessons don't have to come wrapped in chaos because you're listening before the chaos arrives. And yet, even as your awareness expands, there's a new challenge that appears. The challenge of grounding what you know, because higher consciousness isn't useful if it floats above life. You're learning to apply your awareness to the physical world, to your habits, to your work, to your relationships. That's where mastery happens. Not in theories, but in practice. Not in escaping human life, but in elevating it. Every small decision becomes an act of alignment. The way you speak to yourself, the way you start your morning, the way you handle uncertainty, the way you move through conflict, all of it is training. All of it is manifestation in motion. Every choice carries frequency. Every response creates momentum. That's how you sculpt reality. Not through rituals or affirmations alone, but through consistent coherence. You're beginning to understand the real secret of manifestation. It's not about visualizing what you want. It's about becoming the version of yourself that would naturally attract it. It's not about asking for things. It's about aligning with the energy of having them. The quantum field doesn't respond to desire. It responds to being. You can't trick the field by pretending. You can't mask lack with affirmations. You can't fake alignment. The vibration doesn't lie. It knows when you're playing small. It knows when you're doubting yourself. It knows when you're waiting for evidence instead of embodying truth. But the moment you shift into the state of having, into calm certainty, into quiet knowing, the field reorganizes instantly. You don't force it. You feel it. You don't chase outcomes. You align with the reality that already exists at that frequency. And the simplest way to stay aligned is through presence, because presence is the access point to everything. The mind wants to live in stories about what was or what might be. Presence lives in what is. The mind chases meaning. Presence feels truth. When you're fully present, the noise stops. The internal conflict dissolves. The energy stabilizes. That's when manifestation happens. Because in presence, your energy is undivided. Every part of you is moving in the same direction. There's no friction, no resistance, no separation. Just coherence. That's why meditation works. That's why grounding works. That's why simple moments of stillness shift everything. They don't add something new. They clear interference. They bring your system back to its natural rhythm. And in that rhythm, creation happens automatically. You've also started noticing how your intuition is becoming more accurate. You sense when to act and when to wait. You feel guidance through impulses, nudges, small inner whispers. It's subtle, but unmistakable. That's the intelligence of the field moving through you. You don't need external confirmation anymore because the feedback is internal. The universe speaks in signals now, not sentences. It shows you alignment through ease, through flow, through synchronicity. It warns you through resistance, delay, or sudden stillness. You're learning to read those signs as guidance, not obstacles. That's the new way of navigation. You don't plan from logic alone. You align with frequency and let timing do the rest. That's not passivity. That's co-creation. You're not waiting for life to happen. You're participating in its unfolding through energetic precision. If you've been feeling restless about your path or uncertain about your purpose, that's normal. It means expansion is near. Every time your energy grows, your identity must update. The space between who you were and who you're becoming feels like uncertainty. But uncertainty isn't danger. It's potential. The void you feel before the next phase is where new timelines are forming. You don't need to rush to fill it. You just need to stay steady. Because in the quiet moments, the field is rearranging everything. You're not stuck. You're recalibrating. The difference between confusion and transformation is perspective. The moment you stop resisting the pause, you'll see that what feels empty is actually full of new possibility. You just haven't stepped into it yet. You've also noticed how creativity feels different now. It's not forced anymore. It flows. Ideas come with clarity. Inspiration feels electric. You can feel energy wanting to move through you in the form of words, images, projects, connections. That's life creating through you. That's what happens when you remove interference. Creativity isn't about talent. It's about openness. When you're aligned, you become a clear channel for whatever the field wants to express. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to perfect it. You just have to let it move. That's how true creation happens. The moment you stop asking, "Is this good enough?" and start asking, "Is this true for me?" everything changes. The energy that moves through truth is always magnetic. It always finds the right people, the right timing, the right expression. The field handles distribution. You just stay authentic. And as your creativity expands, your sense of purpose starts to clarify. You realize you were never meant to chase one fixed goal. Your purpose is fluid. It evolves as you do. It's not something you find. It's something you express. Every time you choose alignment over fear, you're living your purpose. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you're living your purpose. Every time you bring light into a situation through awareness instead of reaction, you're fulfilling your purpose. It's not about what you do. It's about the frequency you bring to what you do. That's what transforms the ordinary into the sacred. That's what makes your presence catalytic. The more aligned you become, the more your life becomes an instrument of awakening for everyone you encounter. There's a quiet revolution happening in your energy now. You're beginning to release the need to be understood. You don't need validation to feel certain. You don't need proof to trust your intuition. You don't need to explain your path to anyone who doesn't resonate with it. That's freedom. That's sovereignty. You no longer shape yourself to fit into rooms that can't hold your frequency. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You expand and let the energy sort itself. You're learning that it's safe to stand alone when necessary because alignment always draws new resonance. The universe never leaves a frequency empty. When you rise, your field reorganizes to match your new level. The old falls away, the new emerges, and everything in between feels like free fall. But even that is perfect. Because the fall is flight in disguise, you're becoming more magnetic by the day. You can feel it. People look at you differently. Conversations feel deeper. Strangers open up without knowing why. That's not chance. That's your frequency broadcasting coherence. You don't need to preach or persuade. Your energy does the work. You're transmitting stability in a world addicted to chaos. You're holding calm in situations that used to trigger fear. That's your new power. You regulate the energy around you simply by existing in alignment. You've become a tuning fork for awareness. A reminder that calm is contagious. That clarity is possible. That authenticity feels like safety. That's the real work. You're not here to save anyone. You're here to stabilize frequency so others remember they can too. And if you've been doubting your readiness, stop. You wouldn't be reading this if you weren't ready. The timing is perfect. The alignment is exact. Everything that's about to unfold is a reflection of your current coherence. You're not stepping into something foreign. You're returning to your natural state. That's why it feels familiar. That's why it feels like coming home. You've been preparing for this moment your entire life. You're not waiting for alignment. You are alignment. You're not seeking power. You're power in motion. The external changes are just the mirror catching up to what your energy already knows. Trust that, because from here, everything begins to move faster. Not through effort, through resonance. Something has shifted in you. You can feel it even if you can't explain it. The old version of you that lived in doubt doesn't fit anymore. The constant need to figure everything out has gone quiet. The urgency to make things happen has softened. There's a new calm in your awareness, a sense that what's meant for you is already on its way. You don't chase it. You allow it. That's not complacency. That's confidence in the field. You've moved from seeking to knowing, from controlling to aligning, from waiting for proof to becoming the proof. You've stopped trying to force energy and started trusting it. That's the shift that changes everything. You've realized that your external life mirrors your internal state perfectly. Every situation that repeats is showing you what still needs balance. Every delay is an invitation to refine your frequency. Every challenge is feedback from the field asking for more coherence. That means nothing is random anymore. Every event is communication. Every interaction is reflection. You're learning to read the language of reality through vibration instead of words. And when you see that clearly, resistance dissolves. You stop fighting what's showing up and start asking what it's showing you. That's what it means to live consciously. You're no longer reacting to life. You're responding with awareness. You've also started to notice how your thoughts feel different now. They're lighter, cleaner, more deliberate. You don't spiral into fear the same way. You can see when a thought isn't yours, when it's just collective noise passing through. You've stopped identifying with every passing emotion. You observe instead of absorb. You respond instead of react. That's self-mastery. The ability to hold awareness even when old patterns surface. The ability to stay steady while your system recalibrates. That's power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that directs energy. Quiet power. Calm power. The kind that moves worlds without needing to prove anything. There's also a new ease in how you manifest. You no longer think in terms of goals or checklists. You think in terms of energy. You ask, what does alignment feel like today? You follow that feeling. You've stopped chasing specific outcomes because you've realized that your frequency creates better outcomes than your plans ever could. You don't need to predict how something will unfold because you trust your alignment to choose for you. That's real manifestation. Not trying to control external forms, but shaping the inner state that naturally attracts what's aligned. You've learned that effort without alignment creates exhaustion, but alignment without effort creates results that look like magic. And you've begun to understand that the quantum field doesn't reward struggle, it mirrors stability. The more stable your frequency, the faster reality responds. When you hold your energy steady despite outer noise, you collapse timelines. You make things happen not through speed, but through coherence. It's not about doing more. It's about being clear. That's why small adjustments in your inner state create big changes in your outer world. The tiniest shift from doubt to trust, from fear to neutrality, from trying to allowing, changes everything. Because energy amplifies whatever you stabilize in. You've learned to stabilize in peace instead of panic, in clarity instead of confusion, in trust instead of control. That's mastery in motion. Your connection with the unseen has also strengthened. Guidance feels closer now. Synchronicities happen daily. You think of someone and they appear. You release control and the right opportunity shows up. You speak something out loud and it materializes faster than logic can explain. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. You're communicating with the field in its native language. Frequency. You're not asking. You're conversing. You're not hoping. You're creating. Every thought, every word, every emotion carries charge, and the universe is listening in real time. That's why intention has become sacred to you. You know that every signal you send returns amplified, so you choose your signals carefully. You align your energy before you act. You move only when it feels like truth. That's what makes your manifestation so clean now. No interference, no distortion, just clarity. You've probably felt how your body responds differently too. You can sense energy shifts physically. A tightening when something's off. A lightness when something's right. You're reading vibration through sensation. That's your intuition becoming embodied. You're not waiting for signs outside you anymore because your body is the sign. It tells you everything you need to know when you're willing to listen. That's how you navigate now. Through feeling, not forcing. Through inner confirmation instead of outer approval. That's the evolution from mental manifester to energetic creator. And it's happening naturally. Because your system is remembering how to operate at its original frequency. You're learning that manifestation isn't about control. It's about relationship. You and the field are partners. You don't issue commands. You co-create. You don't manipulate outcomes. You align with truth. The field doesn't respond to words. It responds to vibration. It feels what you feel. It mirrors what you believe. It delivers what you are. That's why pretending never works. The universe doesn't hear what you say. It feels what you mean. It hears the quiet doubt behind your affirmation. It hears the tension behind your positivity. It hears the truth beneath every word. That's why authenticity is magnetic. When you're honest about where you are, energy can move. When you're pretending, it can't. Real manifestation requires real honesty, because the field only aligns with truth. And maybe the most beautiful realization of all is this: you were never trying to find your power. You were learning to stop giving it away. Every time you chose fear over intuition, you handed your power to uncertainty. Every time you chose approval over authenticity, you handed it to others. Every time you chose control over trust, you handed it to circumstance. Now you're reclaiming it, quietly, consistently, not through aggression, but through awareness. You're choosing to believe in your own guidance again. You're choosing to trust your energy again. You're choosing to stand in your truth even when no one else understands it. That's not rebellion. That's remembrance. The remembering of what you've always been, an expression of consciousness experiencing itself through creation. The world around you may still feel chaotic. Systems collapsing, structures dissolving, people reacting from fear. But you can feel something deeper beneath it all. A shift, a reorganization, a clearing of old energy, making space for something new. You're not here to escape that. You're here to stabilize it. You hold the frequency of calm while everything rearranges. You breathe when others panic. You see patterns where others see chaos. That's why you've been trained in uncertainty. You are being prepared to remain centered when the world forgets how. You're not here to save the world. You're here to hold the energy that helps it remember. That's the quiet role of Group 11, the stabilizers, the translators of energy, the ones who anchor coherence into form. You've noticed that people feel different around you now. They relax without knowing why. They open up without being prompted. They leave conversations feeling lighter. That's because you've stopped speaking only with words. You're communicating through vibration. You're transmitting calm, clarity, safety. It's not something you're doing. It's what you've become. That's the power of presence. When you walk into a space, the energy shifts automatically. That's how frequency works. You're not special for it. You're simply aligned. You've cleared enough noise from your field that others can sense truth when they're near you. That's why you attract who you attract. Why synchronicities keep multiplying. Why life feels more intentional now. The universe recognizes its own frequency in you. You're also learning that alignment doesn't mean perfection. You'll still have off days. You'll still get tired. You'll still question yourself sometimes. But now you know how to recalibrate. You don't spiral. You pause. You breathe. You come back. You know that nothing's lost when your energy wobbles. You just return to truth. You understand that setbacks are recalibrations in disguise. That contrast isn't punishment. It's precision. Every time something feels off, it's showing you where you're out of sync. That's feedback, not failure. You adjust. You align. You move forward. That's the rhythm now. You're no longer trying to avoid discomfort. You use it as guidance. Every trigger becomes a teacher. Every emotion becomes information. Every moment becomes opportunity. And maybe you've started to feel time folding around you in strange ways. You think of something and it happens instantly. You decide something and the path opens the same day. You release something and something new appears before you can even ask. That's not luck. That's speed of resonance. The field is responding in real time because your vibration is clear. There's no delay between intention and manifestation when there's no contradiction between thought and feeling. That's why alignment feels effortless. It's not that everything becomes easy. It's that resistance dissolves. You stop working against yourself. You move as one unified field. The inside and the outside become the same thing. That's creation as it was always meant to be. This is where the journey comes full circle. You started searching for answers. You found questions that changed everything. You thought you were waking up, but you were remembering. You thought you were learning, but you were decoding. You thought you were waiting for something to begin, but it already had. You've been in alignment longer than you realized. You just needed confirmation. And now you have it. You're not here by accident. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do, even if you can't yet see the full picture, because the field sees it. The field is guiding you. The same energy that brought you here will continue to move through you, arranging everything you need for the next phase. You just have to keep saying yes to your own frequency. So here's what's next. Keep listening. Keep feeling. Keep trusting the subtle signals that tell you when something is right. Keep honoring your alignment above all else. Keep showing up as yourself, fully and unapologetically. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain anything. You just need to live as the frequency you already are. That's how the world shifts. Not through grand declarations, but through consistent coherence. The more authentic you become, the more reality reorganizes around you. That's how collective transformation happens. One coherent person at a time. You are Group 11. Not as an idea, but as an energy. Not as a title, but as a signal. You carry the frequency of clarity in a world that's learning how to remember itself. You're part of a wave of consciousness rising quietly through ordinary people who are no longer willing to live unconsciously. Every time you choose awareness, you strengthen the field. Every time you align, you amplify the signal. Every time you love without fear, you shift the collective. You're not waiting for change anymore. You are the change. You're not asking for signs. You've become one. Reality is listening. The field is responding. And everything from this point forward unfolds according to your alignment. So take one breath. Feel your energy settle. Feel the calm under the noise. Feel the quiet knowing that says, yes, this is who I am. You don't need to become anything else. You're already the frequency. You're already the broadcast. And now that you've remembered that truth, everything in your reality will begin to reflect it. Every step forward will feel like confirmation. Every moment will feel like alignment. Every day will become another chance to live as the energy that's been waiting inside you all along. This is what you came for. This is what Group 11 means. You've arrived.